I'm Ethan Hayes, 24 years old. For 3 years, I worked 2 jobs, saving every penny to build my $3,800 dream PC. Imagine coming home to find it gone, vanished, while my sister Ashley parades around in expensive new clothes. My parents thought they could just take what was mine without consequences. They had no idea what was coming. 6 weeks later, they'd be desperately calling me as their perfectly constructed lives crumbled around them. This isn't about revenge, though. It's about something far more calculated. Before I tell you how my carefully crafted response unfolded, let me know where you're watching from. If this story sounds familiar, subscribe because what happened next might surprise you. I should probably start from the beginning. I was in my final year studying computer science at Northwestern University in Chicago. Unlike many of my classmates whose parents funded their education, I was working 2 jobs to support myself. During the day, I worked at the university's IT help desk solving technical problems for professors who couldn't figure out how to connect to the Wi-Fi. At night, I delivered food around Evanston, often until 1 a.m., before crawling back to my textbooks for a few hours of study. My parents, Marcus and Karen Hayes, weren't poor by any means. Dad worked as an accountant at a mid-sized firm in downtown Chicago, and Mom sold houses in our affluent suburb as a real estate agent. They lived comfortably in our 4-bedroom home in Glenview, a nice suburb north of the city. We weren't wealthy, but we certainly weren't struggling. The issue was never about money. It was about priorities, specifically, their priority named Ashley. My sister Ashley was 19, a freshman at Northwestern where I was finishing my degree. While I commuted from home to save money, Ashley lived in the most expensive dorm on campus. She was the golden child, always had been. Ashley was pretty, popular, and knew exactly how to wrap our parents around her finger. All her life, she'd mastered the art of the wide eyes, the quivering lip, the dramatic sigh that somehow translated to her getting whatever she wanted. Ashley's so sensitive, Mom would say. She feels things deeply. Ashley needs more support, Dad would explain. She's not as naturally independent as you are. Translation: Ashley got everything, and I got whatever was left, if anything. Don't get me wrong, I love my sister. But the favoritism was so blatant it was almost comical. When we were younger, Ashley got horseback riding lessons while I got a library card. For high school graduation, Ashley got a car. I got a watch. For college, Ashley got a full ride from our parents. I got student loans and a pat on the back for being responsible. I accepted this reality years ago. I stopped expecting fairness and instead focused on building my own path. That's why the computer mattered so much. For 3 years, I had been saving for my dream PC. This wasn't just any computer. This was a technological masterpiece I'd designed myself. I'd researched every component, waited for sales, and built spreadsheets tracking prices across different retailers. The specs were incredible: an AMD Ryzen 9 5950X processor, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3090 graphics card, 64 GB of RAM, 2 TB NVMe SSD primary drive with a 4 TB secondary SSD, all housed in a Lienli case with custom water cooling. I even splurged on a 49-inch ultrawide monitor with a 240Hz refresh rate. This PC wasn't just for gaming, though I did enjoy that. It was my future. I was specializing in graphics programming and artificial intelligence. The machine would allow me to run complex simulations, create 3D renders, and develop the kind of cutting-edge applications that would set my portfolio apart from other graduates. I was already getting freelance work, and this PC would help me deliver higher quality results faster, building my client base before I even graduated. Every time I skipped going out with friends, every extra delivery I took during blizzards, every holiday I worked double shifts while others celebrated, it was all for this machine. My parents knew this. They'd heard me talk about it for years, watched me come home exhausted night after night, all to save for this one thing that was truly mine. There had been warning signs, looking back. The time Ashley borrowed my previous laptop without asking and spilled coffee on it. No consequences. The time my parents borrowed money I'd saved for textbooks because Ashley needed a last-minute plane ticket to Cancun with her friends. The time they gave Ashley my bedroom, the larger one, when she was 16 because she needed more closet space for her clothes. But nothing prepared me for what happened that Friday evening in October. I'd just finished my shift at the IT desk and was heading home to work on a programming project. The weather was turning cold in Chicago, and I was looking forward to the weekend when I could finally focus on a machine learning algorithm I was developing. I'd built my PC just 3 months earlier, and I still felt a thrill every time I pressed the power button and watched it light up. As I pulled into our driveway, I noticed Mom's and Ashley's cars but not Dad's. He was probably working late again. I entered through the side door, dropped my backpack in the kitchen, and headed upstairs to my room. That's when everything changed. Something felt off the moment I stepped into my room. The space looked wrong somehow, emptier. Then it hit me. The desk where my PC normally hummed quietly was bare. The monitor was gone. The custom keyboard with its soft blue backlight was missing. All that remained were the cables, hanging limply over the edge of the desk like dead snakes. My first thought was that we'd been robbed. Heart pounding, I raced back downstairs, taking the steps 2 at a time. "Mom!" I called out, panic rising in my throat. "Someone broke in! My computer's gone!" I found Mom and Ashley in the living room, Ashley trying on what appeared to be new clothes. Lots of them. Shopping bags from Nordstrom, Saks, and several boutiques I couldn't afford to even window shop at were scattered across the floor. Mom was sitting on the couch, scrolling through her phone. They both looked up at me with mild surprise, as if I'd interrupted an important fashion consultation. "What?" Mom asked, putting her phone down. "My computer, it's gone. Did you call the police? Was anything else taken?" I was practically hyperventilating. A strange look passed between Mom and Ashley. Not fear or concern, but something else. Discomfort? Guilt? No, not quite that either. "Oh, that," Mom said, her voice casual. "Your father sold it this morning." The world seemed to tilt sideways. I grabbed the doorframe to steady myself. "What did you just say?" My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. "Don't be so dramatic, Ethan." Ashley rolled her eyes, holding up a cashmere sweater against herself and examining her reflection in the wall mirror. "Dad sold your computer stuff. He got good money for it, too. Almost $4,000. $4,000. I echoed, feeling numb. The components were worth closer to $5,000 now due to scarcity, but I'd managed to save by buying at the right times. Why would he sell my computer without even asking me? Mom sighed, as if I was being unreasonable. Ashley needed things for college. You know how important first impressions are, especially in her sorority. I looked at the mountain of shopping bags, the clothes still with tags attached, the 3 pairs of designer shoes lined up on the coffee table. This wasn't just a few essentials. This was an entire wardrobe overhaul. Thousands of dollars worth of fashion that Ashley would probably be bored with by next season. "You sold my computer, that I worked 3 years to save for, that I use for my degree and my job, to buy Ashley clothes?" I couldn't process what I was hearing. "Not just clothes," Ashley corrected, as if that made it better. "There's also makeup, accessories, and I got my hair done at that salon downtown." She flipped her freshly highlighted hair over her shoulder. "Plus Dad's taking me to get the new iPhone tomorrow." "You already have a phone!" I shouted, finally finding my voice. "You got the last model 8 months ago." "Yeah, but everyone in Kappa has the new one." She shrugged, as if this explained everything. I turned to Mom, desperately hoping for some sign that this was all a horrible joke. "Mom, that computer wasn't just for games. It's for my degree, for my job applications, for the freelance work I'm doing. I need it. How could you and Dad do this without even talking to me?" Mom's expression hardened slightly. "Ethan, you're being selfish. Your sister needs to fit in at college. You know how important this time is for her future connections. Besides, you can always build another computer. You're good with that stuff. Just build another one. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. It took me 3 years to save for that one. I worked 2 jobs while studying full-time. Well, maybe you should have put that money towards something more practical, Mom countered. A computer that expensive is excessive anyway. All those lights and fancy parts, it's not necessary. It's not necessary for you, I said, my voice shaking. It's absolutely necessary for my future. Don't raise your voice at your mother. Dad's voice came from behind me. He just walked in the front door, briefcase in hand, looking tired from his day at work. What's going on here? You sold my computer, I said, turning to face him. Without asking me. Without even telling me. Dad put his briefcase down and loosened his tie. I got a good price for it. That guy from my office, his son is into gaming or whatever. He gave me cash, no questions asked. It wasn't yours to sell. My voice broke. I paid for every single part with my own money. I built it myself. It belongs to me. You live under our roof, Dad replied, his tone suggesting this was the end of the discussion. We needed the money for Ashley's college expenses. College expenses? Designer clothes and a new iPhone aren't college expenses. I gestured wildly at the shopping bags. And if you needed money so badly, why didn't you ask me? Or better yet, why doesn't Ashley get a job like I did? Ashley looked offended at the very suggestion. I need to focus on my studies and social connections. Not everyone wants to be a hermit with a computer like you. A hermit? I worked 2 jobs and maintained a 3.9 GPA. What's your excuse? That's enough. Dad stepped between us. Ethan, I understand you're upset, but what's done is done. Ashley needed these things, and we made a decision as her parents to provide them. And what about your decision as MY parents? I asked, my voice quieter now but intense. What about supporting MY needs? That computer wasn't a toy. It was my investment in my future. You're different, Mom interjected. You've always been more independent. Ashley needs more guidance and support. Independent? You mean neglected, I corrected her. You've always favored her, but this crosses a line I didn't think even you would cross. Now you're just being childish, Dad said dismissively. It's just a computer. You'll get over it. I looked at each of their faces, Dad's dismissive authority, Mom's sanctimonious justification, Ashley's entitled smirk, and something broke inside me. A lifetime of being the afterthought, the less important child, crystallized in that moment of utter betrayal. It's not just a computer, I said quietly. It's 3 years of my life. It's my self-respect. And apparently that's worth less than Ashley's new handbag. I turned and walked back upstairs, ignoring their calls to stop being so dramatic. In my room, I closed the door and sat on the edge of my bed, staring at the empty space where my PC had been. My hands were trembling, not just with anger, but with a profound sense of hurt that went bone deep. For the first time in my life, I truly understood I meant nothing to them. Not my work, not my dreams, not my boundaries. Nothing. Something had to change. I didn't sleep that night. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the empty space on my desk, heard my parents' casual dismissal of 3 years of my hard work, saw Ashley's smug smile as she tried on clothes purchased with my sacrifice. As the night wore on, my hurt crystallized into clarity. This wasn't an isolated incident, it was the culmination of a lifetime pattern. The evidence was all around me, the smaller bedroom, the second-hand furniture while Ashley's room looked like a page from a Pottery Barn catalog, the student loans weighing me down while Ashley attended college free and clear. By dawn, I had made my decision. This cycle would never end unless I broke it myself. I texted my best friend Jason at 6 a.m. Need to talk. Emergency. Can I come over? Jason, bless him, was already up for his morning run. Doors open. Coffee brewing. I packed a small bag with essentials, clothes, toiletries, important documents, and slipped out while the rest of the house was still sleeping. The drive to Jason's apartment took 20 minutes, each mile putting welcome distance between me and the house that had never really been my home. Jason took one look at my face when I arrived and knew something was seriously wrong. We'd been friends since freshman year of college, bonding over our shared love of programming and old-school RPGs. He listened without interrupting as I told him everything, his expression darkening with each detail. "Stay here as long as you need," he said when I finished. "My roommate moved out last month. The bedroom's yours. I can pay rent," I said immediately. "I've got some savings left. We'll figure it out," Jason assured me. "First things first, you need a breather and a plan." After breakfast and a shower, I felt marginally more human. Jason had to go to work, so I had the apartment to myself. I opened my laptop, thankfully I'd had it with me at work yesterday, and started making lists. What I needed immediately. What I could retrieve from my parents' house. What I'd have to replace. The loss of my PC was more than financial. It represented countless hours of work, code repositories, 3D models, project files, that would need to be recreated. I had some backups on cloud services, but not everything. The thought made me physically ill. Around noon, I drove back to my parents' house, timing it so no one would be home. Dad would be at work, Mom had her real estate office hours on Saturdays, and Ashley never woke before noon on weekends. I used my key to let myself in and headed straight to my room. I worked efficiently, grabbing more clothes, my external hard drives, textbooks, and personal mementos. In my closet, behind some winter coats, I found my old journals. I'd been keeping them since middle school, documenting instances of the favoritism that my parents always denied existed. Reading through a few entries reinforced my decision. This wasn't new. This wasn't an overreaction. This was the breaking point of a pattern established long ago. As I was packing the last of my things, I heard the front door open. Freezing in place, I listened as footsteps moved through the house. "Ethan?" It was my father's voice. "Your car's in the driveway. Let's talk about this like adults." I hadn't expected him to come home during lunch. Taking a deep breath, I stepped into the hallway with my bags. Dad's expression shifted from conciliatory to confused to angry as he registered what I was doing. "What do you think you're doing?" he demanded. "Leaving," I replied simply. "I should have done it years ago." "Don't be ridiculous. Where would you even go? You can't afford your own place." "I've figured it out," I said, moving past him toward the stairs. "I'm staying with Jason for now." "This is about the computer, isn't it? You're really going to throw a tantrum and run away over a computer?" I stopped on the landing and turned to face him. "This isn't about the computer. It's about respect. It's about recognizing that I'm a person with rights to my own property and dignity. You and Mom and Ashley have never understood that. We've given you everything." Dad's voice rose. "A roof over your head, food, education. You've given Ashley everything," I corrected him. "You've given me the minimum required by law, and then expected gratitude for it. There's a difference." "That's not true," he protested, but I could see the flicker of unease in his eyes. On some level, he knew. "It is true," I said. "And selling my computer without my permission was illegal. That was my property, purchased with my money. I could press charges for theft." That got his attention. Dad was all about his reputation in the community. "You wouldn't dare," he said, but his voice had lost its certainty. "I don't want to," I admitted. "I don't want this to get ugly. I just want to leave and figure out my life without the constant reminder that I'll always be second place in this family." I continued down the stairs, and to my surprise, he didn't try to stop me. At the front door, I paused and turned back. "I'm not doing this to hurt you, Mom, or even Ashley. I'm doing this because I deserve better than what happened yesterday. I deserve better than how I've been treated my whole life." I left a simple note on the kitchen counter. I deserve better than this. Don't contact me. As I drove away, I felt a strange mixture of grief and liberation. My phone started buzzing with texts almost immediately. Mom had probably come home and found my note. I switched it to silent and focused on the road ahead. The next week was a blur of adjustment. I slept on Jason's couch until we could rearrange the spare bedroom. I redirected my mail, updated my address at work and school, and tried to recreate my digital workspace on my laptop, which was painfully inadequate for the tasks my PC had handled with ease. My parents' attempts to contact me evolved over those 7 days. First came the angry texts. "How dare you just leave like this?" And, "You're being incredibly immature." Then the guilt trips. "Your mother is very upset." And, "Is this how you repay us for everything we've done for you?" Finally, the dismissive ones. "When you're ready to stop this foolishness, we'll talk." And, "You'll realize you're overreacting." I read them all but responded to none. Ashley sent a single text. "Drama queen much?" I blocked her number after that. By the end of the week, I had the beginning of a plan. This wasn't about revenge. I wasn't interested in hurting my family. But I was determined to establish boundaries and ensure they understood there were consequences to treating me like an afterthought. It was time to become strategically unavailable. The thing about being the family tech person is that no one notices all you do until you stop doing it. For years, I'd been the invisible infrastructure keeping our household running smoothly, fixing the Wi-Fi when it went down, updating security software, backing up important documents, troubleshooting printer issues, recovering deleted files, and 100 other small tasks that my family took entirely for granted. Now I sat at Jason's kitchen table, making a comprehensive list of all the technical support I'd provided. It was longer than even I had realized. Weekly security updates on all family computers. Managing the home network and Wi-Fi. Maintaining cloud backups of Mom's real estate documents. Helping Dad with his accounting software. Setting up and maintaining Ashley's laptop. Regular virus scans and malware removal, especially on Ashley's machine, which was constantly infected from her downloading questionable content. Home entertainment system configuration. Smartphone updates and troubleshooting. Smart home device management, thermostats, doorbell, security cameras. Beyond tech support, I realized I'd also been handling a surprising amount of home maintenance. Lawn mowing and yard work. Minor plumbing repairs. Changing light fixtures. Car oil changes and basic maintenance. Furniture assembly. Appliance troubleshooting. All of this labor, skilled labor that would cost hundreds or thousands to outsource, I'd been providing for free. And not only had it gone unappreciated, but it had been rewarded with the theft of my most valuable possession. That weekend, I called my Uncle Brian, my dad's younger brother. Unlike my parents, Uncle Brian had always seen the favoritism clearly. He had no children of his own but had always taken an interest in my education and career. "I was wondering when this day would come," he said after I explained what happened. "Your parents, they're good people in many ways, but they've always had a blind spot when it comes to how they treat you versus Ashley. I don't know what to do," I admitted. "I don't want to burn bridges, but I can't go back to how things were." "You don't have to decide everything now," he said. "Stay where you are, focus on finishing your degree. I can help with a loan if you need it to get a basic working computer." Uncle Brian's offer of financial help meant more than he knew. I reluctantly accepted enough for a basic PC that would get me through my coursework, nothing like what I'd lost, but functional. I promised to pay him back as soon as I could. "Consider it an investment in your future," he said. "I've always known you'd do great things, Ethan. Don't let this setback derail you." With that encouragement, I moved to the next phase of my plan, disentangling myself financially from my parents. I hadn't realized how connected our lives still were until I started looking. I was on their family phone plan. My car insurance was bundled with theirs. My health insurance was through my father's work. My student bank account was linked to my mother's for emergencies. One by one, I severed these connections. I got my own phone plan, set up independent insurance policies, created new bank accounts at a different bank. Each change cost me more money but bought priceless independence. Then I discovered something that made my blood boil. When reviewing my credit report, I found several credit inquiries I hadn't authorized. My parents had been using my excellent credit score, built through years of careful financial management, to get better rates on loans and credit cards. While not technically identity theft since I was over 18 and had previously given them permission to access my information, it was a violation of trust one hadn't anticipated. I consulted with a financial advisor named Melanie, who specialized in helping young adults establish financial independence. She helped me place a freeze on my credit to prevent further inquiries and draft a formal letter requesting my removal from all shared accounts. "You're doing the right thing," Melanie assured me. "Financial boundaries are just as important as emotional ones." 2 weeks after my departure, the first cracks in my parents' facade began to show. My father called on a Thursday evening, the 5th call that day, and for the first time, I answered. "Ethan." He sounded genuinely relieved. "Thank God. The home network is down, and I can't access my work files. Your mother has a virtual showing tomorrow, and she can't get her presentation to load. Can you please come fix it?" No apology. No acknowledgement of what happened. Just the expectation that I would drop everything to solve their problems. "I'm sorry to hear you're having technical difficulties," I said, keeping my voice neutral. "Have you tried calling your internet service provider?" "You know they're useless," Dad said impatiently. "Just come over and do your thing. It never takes you more than a few minutes." "I'm not available," I said. "But I can recommend a few IT services that can help. They typically charge between $85 and $150 per hour." A pause. "You can't be serious. Why would we pay someone when you can do it?" "Because I'm not available," I repeated. "And my technical services are no longer part of our family arrangement. That arrangement ended when you sold my computer without my consent. Are you punishing us?" Dad sounded incredulous. "No," I said truthfully. "I'm establishing boundaries. There's a difference." He hung up without another word. The next day, Ashley called. This was unusual. She rarely contacted me directly unless she needed something. "Ethan, you have to help me," she said without preamble. "My laptop is acting weird, and I have a term paper due Monday. The campus IT desk has a 3-day waiting list." "What's wrong with it?" I asked, more out of professional curiosity than anything else. "It keeps freezing and showing these weird pop-ups. And it's like super slow. I think it has a virus or something." I knew exactly what had happened. Ashley had a habit of clicking on suspicious links and downloading free versions of software that came bundled with malware. "You'll need to take it to a repair shop," I told her. "Best Buy has a geek squad that might be able to help." "But they'll charge me," she protested. "And it might take days." "Yes," I agreed. "Technical support costs money and takes time. But you always fix it for free. That was before Mom and Dad sold my computer to buy you clothes," I reminded her. "I'm sure they can help you pay for the repairs, or maybe you can return some of your new purchases to cover the cost." Her gasp of outrage was audible. "You are such a jerk. I can't believe you're still upset about that stupid computer." "Goodbye, Ashley," I said, and ended the call. That weekend I received a text from Mom with a photo attachment. It was a receipt from a computer repair service for $320. "Are you happy now?" the accompanying message read. I didn't respond, but I wasn't happy. I took no joy in their technical difficulties. What I felt was a complex mixture of sadness, resolution, and a growing sense of self-worth that had been denied to me for too long. The following week, I received notification that my parents had removed me from their phone plan, apparently in retaliation. Little did they know I'd already established my own. The same happened with the car insurance and health insurance. moves intended to punish me that merely completed the separation I'd already initiated. Meanwhile, I focused on rebuilding. With my basic new PC, I could at least continue my coursework and some of my freelance projects. I took on extra shifts at both jobs, determined to save for another high-performance machine. Uncle Brian checked in regularly, offering encouragement and perspective when my resolve wavered. "You're doing something difficult but necessary," he reminded me. "Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's healthy. Your parents may not understand that now, but give them time." I hoped he was right, but as another week passed with no acknowledgement of what they'd done wrong, my hope dimmed. They seemed to view my absence purely as inconvenience and betrayal, not as the natural consequence of their actions. What they didn't realize was that their technical problems were just beginning. 1 month after I moved out, the situation at my parents' house had deteriorated significantly. I heard this not from them directly, but through Jason, whose mother was friends with mine. According to Jason, my absence was causing more disruption than anyone had anticipated. "Your dad's work computer got hit with ransomware," Jason told me over pizza one evening. "Apparently he clicked on a phishing email that looked like it was from his bank. They're demanding $5,000 to unlock his files." I winced. This was exactly the kind of security issue I'd been preventing for years with regular software updates, and by teaching my family about suspicious emails. Dad had never taken those lessons seriously. "Is he going to pay it?" I asked. "No idea," Jason shrugged. "But my mom said your mom missed a big house showing last week because her real estate software crashed, and she couldn't get it working again. Lost a potential commission on a lakefront property." The following day, my phone rang with Ashley's number. I hesitated but decided to answer. "What do you want, Ashley?" "I'm failing 2 classes," she said without preamble, her voice tight with anger. "My laptop completely died, and I lost all my assignments. The guy at the repair shop said the hard drive is corrupted and the data is unrecoverable." This wasn't surprising. I'd been backing up her important files to the cloud for years, something she'd apparently never noticed or appreciated. "I'm sorry to hear that," I said, and I genuinely was. I didn't want Ashley to fail her classes. "No, you're not," she snapped. "You're enjoying this. This is your revenge for that stupid computer. I didn't break your laptop, Ashley. And I've been warning you for years about clicking on suspicious links and downloading files from unreliable sources. Whatever. Mom and Dad say you need to come fix our computers and the Wi-Fi." Dad had to hire some company to remove the ransomware, and now nothing works right. They paid like $2,000, and it's still messed up. I took a deep breath. "I'm not coming to fix anything. I'm not your free IT department anymore." "So you're just abandoning your family?" Real mature, Ethan. I didn't abandon anyone. I was pushed out when my property was stolen and sold. Actions have consequences. It wasn't stolen. Dad sold it for my college expenses. Without my permission. That's theft, Ashley. And designer clothes aren't college expenses. She made a frustrated sound. Mom and Dad are really stressed out. All this computer stuff is costing them a fortune. Is that what you wanted? What I wanted was to be treated with respect and have my boundaries honored. What I wanted was for my years of hard work to be valued. What I wanted was to not have my property sold out from under me without my consent. None of that happened. There was a pause on the line. "Well, they had to return most of my new clothes to pay for the computer repairs," she said, her voice smaller now. "So I hope you're satisfied." The call ended, and I sat staring at my phone, feeling a complex mix of emotions. I wasn't celebrating their technical misfortunes, but I couldn't deny a certain sense of validation. For the first time, my parents were experiencing the true cost of the support I'd been providing all these years. That evening, Jason came home with more news from the parent grapevine. "Your mom was asking my mom if she knew where you were staying. Said they've been calling but you won't answer." This was true. After that call with Ashley, I'd gone back to screening their attempts to contact me. The calls and texts had a predictable pattern now: technical problems, demands for help, guilt trips when I didn't respond, then anger and accusations of selfishness. "What did your mom say?" I asked. "She played dumb." Jason grinned. "Said she thought you might have gotten your own apartment by now." I was grateful for the protection. I wasn't ready to face my parents yet, not until they showed some recognition of what they'd done wrong. Meanwhile, my own situation was improving. I'd been channeling all my hurt and anger into productivity. My grades were excellent, I'd picked up more freelance work, and I'd even been offered a better paying position at a small software development firm starting after graduation. The hiring manager had been impressed with my portfolio, limited as it was without my high-performance machine. Bit by bit, I was also rebuilding my PC. It wasn't the same as my original dream machine, but I'd managed to find a decent graphics card on sale and was slowly acquiring the other components as my budget allowed. Each new part was a small victory, a step toward reclaiming what had been taken from me. My social media posts about my new job offer and computer rebuild caught attention. Friends from college reached out to congratulate me, and several offered parts they weren't using or discounts through their workplaces. The support was overwhelming and unexpected. What I hadn't anticipated was how these posts would spread through mutual connections back to my family's social circle. The narrative was shifting. People were asking questions. Why had Ethan moved out so suddenly? Why was he rebuilding a computer from scratch when he'd had a top-of-the-line machine just months ago? Uncle Brian called to tell me that family friends were starting to piece things together. "Your mother was complaining to Linda Johnson about how ungrateful you are, abandoning the family when they needed tech support," he said. "But Linda's son is friends with you on Facebook, saw your posts about rebuilding after your computer was sold without permission. The story's getting around, and it's not painting your parents in a good light." I hadn't intended this to become public, but I also wasn't going to lie to protect my parents' reputation. When friends asked, I told the truth simply and without embellishment. "My parents sold my computer without my knowledge or consent to buy my sister new clothes. I decided it was time to move out." The consequences rippled outward. Mom's real estate clients heard rumors. Dad's colleagues at the accounting firm started asking questions. Ashley's sorority sisters, many from wealthy families where respect for property was sacrosanct, expressed shock at what had happened. The pressure mounted until, 6 weeks after I'd moved out, both my parents showed up unannounced at Jason's apartment building. Jason texted me a warning when he spotted them in the lobby, giving me a few minutes to prepare myself. The knock on the door still made my heart race. It was time for a long-overdue confrontation. I opened the door to find my parents standing there, looking simultaneously authoritative and uncertain. Dad was in his work clothes, Mom dressed for her real estate office. They seemed older somehow, stress etched more deeply into their faces than I remembered. "May we come in?" Dad asked stiffly. I stepped aside, allowing them into Jason's apartment. Jason had tactfully made himself scarce, mentioning something about errands that needed his immediate attention. "How did you find me?" I asked, though I had my suspicions. "Your friend's mother told us," Mom admitted. "After we convinced her it was a family emergency." Of course, they'd manipulated the information out of Jason's mom. Some things never changed. "What's the emergency?" I asked, remaining standing as they awkwardly took seats on Jason's couch. They exchanged glances. "We need to talk about this situation," Dad said. "It's gone on long enough. You've made your point." "What point do you think I was making?" "That you're angry about the computer," Mom said. "That you want us to acknowledge it was wrong to sell it without asking you." "That's part of it," I agreed. "But only part." "What else do you want? An apology?" "Fine, we're sorry we sold your computer," Dad said, though his tone carried more frustration than remorse. "But your reaction has been completely disproportionate. Running away, ignoring our calls, refusing to help with technical issues you could solve in minutes. It's childish and vindictive." I took a deep breath, reminding myself to stay calm. "I didn't run away. I'm an adult who chose to remove myself from a toxic situation. And I'm not refusing to help to be vindictive. I'm establishing boundaries that should have been established years ago. Boundaries? Mom looked confused. What boundaries? We're your parents. Yes, and parents should respect their children's property and dignity. When you sold my computer without permission, you violated both. We've apologized for that, Dad insisted. No, you haven't. You just said the words "we're sorry" while clearly not meaning them. You still think you had the right to take my property because you're my parents, don't you? Their silence was answer enough. Where's Ashley? I asked, changing the subject slightly. At a study group, Mom said. She's struggling with her classes since her laptop problems. Problems that could have been avoided if someone had been doing regular backups. Dad added pointedly. Someone like me, you mean? The free IT department you took for granted until I left? That's not fair, Mom protested. We never took you for granted. I laughed, I couldn't help it. Really? Let's talk about what's happened since I left. Dad's computer got ransomware because no one was updating his security software. Mom missed a showing because her presentation crashed. Ashley lost assignments because no one was backing up her files. The Wi-Fi keeps dropping because no one knows how to properly reset the router. Their expressions confirmed each point. And that's just technology. I continued. Who's been mowing the lawn? Fixing the leaky faucets? Changing the light bulbs in the high ceilings? All the things I did without anyone noticing or thanking me? We've had to hire people. Dad admitted reluctantly. It's been expensive. How expensive? I asked. Dad shifted uncomfortably. The ransomware removal was $2,000. We've paid about $800 to an IT service for other issues. The lawn service is $80 a week. The plumber was $300 for what turned out to be a simple fix. He trailed off. And all the new clothes you bought Ashley with my computer money? What happened to those? Mom looked away. We had to return most of them to cover the technical expenses. So in trying to favor Ashley by selling my property, you actually ended up causing her disappointment too. Interesting how that worked out. We never meant to favor anyone. Mom insisted, but her voice lacked conviction. I walked to my backpack and pulled out one of my old journals. This is from when I was 15. I said, opening to a marked page. August 12th. Dad bought Ashley a new iPhone today because hers was outdated. It was 8 months old. Meanwhile, I'm still using the cracked hand-me-down from 2 years ago. When I asked about upgrading, he said money was tight and I should be grateful for what I have. I flipped to another page. October 3rd. Got my SATs back today. Scored in the 98th percentile. Mom and Dad barely noticed, just said good job and went back to helping Ashley with her C math test. She got ice cream as a reward for trying her best. Those are just isolated incidents. Dad protested. And from a teenager's perspective, I have 7 years of these journals. I replied. The pattern is clear. It wasn't just the computer. That was just the final straw. My parents sat in uncomfortable silence, the weight of my words hanging in the air between us. Do you know what hurts the most? I asked quietly. It's not the material things. It's that you never saw me. All those years of working 2 jobs while maintaining a high GPA, of solving your problems without complaint, of being responsible and self-sufficient, none of it mattered as much as Ashley's latest drama or desire. Mom's eyes filled with tears. That's not true. We've always been proud of you. Proud, maybe, but not supportive. Not in the ways that mattered. Dad leaned forward, his expression serious. Ethan, whatever you think of our parenting, this situation has gone far enough. Your absence has created real problems for the family. That's the point you're still missing. I replied. I wasn't your live-in IT support or maintenance person. I was your son, deserving of the same respect and consideration you gave Ashley. The fact that your main concern is the problems my absence has caused rather than the pain that drove me away says everything. So what do you want from us? Dad asked, frustration evident in his voice. I want you to understand what you did wrong. I want genuine remorse, not just regret that your actions had uncomfortable consequences for you. I want you to recognize the pattern of favoritism that's defined our family dynamic for as long as I can remember. And if we do all that? Mom asked. Will you come home? Will you help us fix the technical issues? I shook my head. I'm not coming home. That chapter is closed. As for technical help, I'm willing to provide limited assistance once I see genuine change, not as your son who owes you free labor, but as an IT professional who sets appropriate boundaries. You can't just cut us off completely, Dad said, an edge of panic in his voice. We're your parents. I'm not cutting you off. I'm redefining our relationship on healthier terms. You can be part of my life if you respect my boundaries. That starts with acknowledging the harm you've caused. The conversation circled for another hour, moving between defensive deflection, grudging acknowledgement, and occasional moments of genuine insight. My parents weren't monsters. They were flawed people who had fallen into damaging patterns they couldn't see until the consequences became unavoidable. By the end, Mom was crying openly, not the manipulative tears I'd seen her use before, but a rawer, more honest grief. Dad sat in stunned silence, the full weight of years of unconscious favoritism finally sinking in. Ashley doesn't know we're here, Mom admitted finally. She still thinks you're being selfish and dramatic. She doesn't understand what she's lost. What has she lost? I asked. A brother who cared enough to help her succeed, Dad said quietly. She's failing her classes without your help. Her laptop is useless. She doesn't know how to solve any of these problems herself because we never required her to learn. It was the first truly insightful thing either of them had said all day. We've made a mess of things, Mom whispered. With both of you, in different ways. As they prepared to leave, there was an awkward moment at the door. No one quite knew how to end this difficult conversation. Can we see you again? Mom asked hesitantly. Yes, I said. But on my terms, not because technology is failing or you need something fixed. Because you want to build a healthier relationship. Dad nodded somber. Your mother and I have a lot to think about. As I closed the door behind them, I felt neither triumph nor relief, but a quiet, sad hope that maybe, just maybe, this painful rupture could lead to healing, not a return to the old dysfunctional patterns, but the beginning of something new and healthier for us all. The real work was just beginning. 6 months passed, bringing changes I couldn't have anticipated that October day when I discovered my computer missing. Winter gave way to spring, and with the seasonal shift came a gradual transformation in my family relationships as well. I had moved into my own small apartment near campus, a modest studio that was entirely mine. The walls were decorated with framed code snippets and vintage computer patent designs. My desk, the centerpiece of the main room, held my rebuilt PC, not quite as powerful as my original dream machine, but impressive nonetheless. My graduation had come and gone, celebrated with a small gathering of friends including Jason and Uncle Brian. My parents and Ashley had attended the ceremony, sitting slightly apart from my chosen family, their presence both welcome and tentative. We were feeling our way toward a new normal, one careful step at a time. The software development job I'd been offered had turned into a full-time position after graduation. The work was challenging and rewarding, allowing me to build both my skills and my savings. I was already eyeing upgrades for my PC and had started a dedicated fund for them, this time with a secure lock on my account that only I could access. My relationship with my parents had evolved into something I wouldn't have recognized a year earlier. The transformation hadn't happened overnight, and it hadn't been easy for any of us. After our confrontation at Jason's apartment, my parents had taken the unprecedented step of seeking family therapy. The therapist, Dr. Winters, had specialized experience with family dynamics and favoritism issues. Initially, my parents had hoped I would join them for sessions, but I declined, insisting they needed to do their own work first. Instead, I found my own therapist to help me process years of being the less favored child and establish healthier boundaries. 3 months in, I agreed to join them for monthly family sessions. These meetings were often tense and uncomfortable, bringing long-buried issues to the surface. Dr. Winters was skilled at cutting through my parents' defensiveness and my own protective walls, guiding us toward more honest communication. Favoritism is rarely conscious, she explained during one particularly difficult session. Parents often justify their unequal treatment by pointing to different needs or personalities. The favored child isn't happier, though. Ashley was deprived of the chance to develop resilience and self-sufficiency, just as Ethan was deprived of unconditional support. Ashley's journey had been perhaps the most surprising. The laptop crisis and resulting academic troubles had been a wake-up call. Without me there to bail her out, she'd been forced to develop skills she'd never needed before. She joined a campus tech club, humbling herself to learn basics she'd previously dismissed as boring nerd stuff. Her grades had recovered somewhat, though not to their previous levels. Our relationship remained the most fragile. Years of unconscious competition and resentment couldn't be erased quickly. But there had been moments, a text asking for computer advice that ended with, "Thank you," a birthday card with a gift card to a computer parts store, a genuine compliment about my new job that suggested healing was possible. Uncle Brian had remained my steadfast supporter throughout, often serving as a sounding board when family therapy stirred up difficult emotions. Family relationships aren't fixed points, he told me once. They're living things that grow and change. Sometimes they need aggressive pruning to become healthy again. Thanksgiving arrived, the first major holiday since our family's restructuring. After much consideration, I accepted my parents' invitation to dinner. The occasion would be a test of our progress, a measure of how far we'd come and how far we still had to go. I arrived at the familiar house with a bottle of wine and cautious optimism. The home looked different somehow, not physically, but in the way spaces change when our relationship to them transforms. This was no longer my home, but a place I was visiting by choice rather than obligation. Dinner was not the tense affair I'd feared. Conversation flowed more easily than expected, carefully navigating around sensitive topics but finding plenty of common ground. Mom had made my favorite dessert, pumpkin cheesecake, a small gesture that spoke volumes. After dinner, Dad asked me to join him in his office. On his desk sat a large box. "I've been wanting to give you this for a while," he said, pushing the box toward me. "It's not a replacement for what I sold. I know that can't be undone. But it's a start." Inside was a high-end graphics card, even better than the one in my original PC. "I did some research," he explained, uncharacteristically nervous. "Your Uncle Brian helped. I know it's just one component, but I thought maybe we could gradually help you rebuild, piece by piece." The gesture brought unexpected tears to my eyes. It wasn't about the monetary value. I was earning enough now to buy my own components. It was about the effort, the research, the acknowledgement of what had been taken. "Thanks, Dad," I said simply. "This means a lot." "I was wrong," he said, the words clearly difficult for him. "Not just about selling your computer. About a lot of things. The way we treated you compared to Ashley. The things we took for granted. I'm trying to do better." These weren't empty words. Over the past months, I'd seen concrete changes. My parents had stopped enabling Ashley's dependence, encouraging her to solve her own problems. They'd begun acknowledging my accomplishments with genuine interest rather than passing recognition. Most importantly, they'd started respecting my boundaries without the defensiveness that had characterized our relationship for years. As for Ashley, she had joined us in the office, hovering in the doorway with uncharacteristic hesitation. "Is that the new RTX card?" she asked, surprising me with her knowledge of computer components. "The one with the ray tracing capabilities? You know about ray tracing?" I couldn't keep the surprise from my voice. She shrugged, a hint of her old defensiveness surfacing. "I've been learning. My programming class requires decent graphics processing." She's been taking a coding boot camp, Mom added from behind her. Says she wants to understand what you've been talking about all these years. This was news to me, and it shifted something in how I saw my sister. Perhaps there was hope for us after all. Later that evening, as I prepared to leave, Mom hugged me, a real hug, not the perfunctory embrace I'd grown accustomed to. I'm proud of you, she said quietly. Not because of your job or your accomplishments, though those are impressive. I'm proud of your strength in standing up for yourself, even when it was painful for all of us. You taught us something important. The journey wasn't complete. We would never be a perfect family. Such things don't exist outside of sitcoms. My parents would still occasionally slip into old patterns, I would still sometimes feel the sting of past hurts, and Ashley would continue to navigate her own path toward maturity with inevitable stumbles. But we had broken the cycle. The old dynamics had been acknowledged, examined, and gradually transformed. My decision to leave, difficult and painful as it had been, had ultimately led to growth for all of us. As I drove back to my apartment that night, new graphics card securely boxed in the passenger seat, I reflected on the unexpected lessons of the past 6 months. Sometimes loving someone means allowing them to experience the consequences of their actions. True self-respect requires enforcing boundaries, even when it's uncomfortable. Patterns established over decades can be changed, but only when the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of transformation. Forgiveness doesn't mean forgetting or pretending harm didn't occur. It means choosing to move forward without being controlled by past injuries. Most importantly, I'd learned that my worth wasn't determined by my parents' ability to see it. It had always been there, waiting for me to recognize and assert it. The dream PC that had been sold without my permission had been a catalyst for necessary change. Its loss had ultimately led to something more valuable, a chance at genuine family connections based on mutual respect rather than obligation and assumed roles. As I look back now, I realize that while losing my computer had felt like the end of something, it had actually been a beginning. The first step on a path toward authenticity and healing that none of us could have foreseen. What about you? Have you ever had to establish difficult boundaries with family? How did you balance self-respect with maintaining relationships? Share your experiences in the comments, and if this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe for more real-life journeys of growth and resilience. Remember, sometimes the hardest conversations lead to the most meaningful changes. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I wish you courage in your own path toward healthy relationships and self-worth.